Hi class, welcome to Monday of week 2. I wanted to go through your weekly folder with you and describe the assignments a little bit. I will often do this. Most weeks you will get a welcome video to your week. I always felt like in an online class, even though you read, sometimes you just want to hear the professor explain the assignment a little bit. And so that's what I always try to do in these videos. So this week we're kind of studying the science of nutrition, right? Because the purpose of this course is that you are in a scientific ways of knowing. We are not looking at theory, or I should say opinion per se. We are really looking at what does the science show us and how do we actually read that literature? How can we decipher between the BS we see on Facebook and what we hear from people and the gyms and all of that stuff to what is actually true about metabolism and food and what we need and what we don't need. This course is going to challenge you through all of those arguments that you might have in your mind versus, given what everyone sees and what everyone says. And so we spend a week really looking at how do we understand information that we are given and how do we delineate between the information so we know what to keep and when we know what to throw away, because gotta tell you, most of the nutrition information you throw away. So very first thing, you have a PDF reading. We do not have a Learn Smart this week. We are not in the textbook. The PDF is not great and I do apologize for that. Just muscle through it. It's not super long. You have your week 2 content. Remember how I said often our weeks would do this? We would have a folder. What I try to do is give you some really good videos that support the content that are entertaining and kind of interactive. So you don't always have to have that narrated PowerPoint per se. So please watch these videos. One thing you'll notice about these little TED Eds, they're not required, the questions, but if you actually click on this, you will see that it actually takes you and you can think and dig deeper and discuss, and it actually has questions. So you can look and you can say, well, I would like to actually read more about this, or I want to answer these questions to see, do you understand the material? Because of course this is going to show up on an exam later. So this is a really good way to test yourself. And there's actually quite a few of these. So every time you'll know the difference. Here's a TED Talk. Do you notice how this isn't underlined? But this is. That's how you know the difference between this one is going to come with some questions. And you also notice it says TED Ed. This one just says TED. And so these are, again, TED Ed underlined. Okay, so these are the videos that you have to accompany. Most of your videos, unless they are specific documentaries or things like that, are 5 to 10 minutes. So really, they're meant to be short captions and very worth watching. You do have one narrated PowerPoint. It lasts like 5 minutes. And this is just really talking about the scientific method, because the other thing we have to understand is not only how do we decipher the information that we're receiving, but how do they come to that information? And so if we hear, for example, a new study came out saying what humans should be eating from an ecological model, that means how do we make the planet last, as well as how do we feed the human population, right? Because a good portion of our population is really underfed in like second and third world countries. And it showed that we should mainly be eating plants and barely any meat. And so how do they come to that conclusion? Did some guy just say, hey, this is what I think, or vegans are cool, or right? So there's a scientific method to this process, and that's what why it's important you kind of understand that this information is also not it's testable and it's reliable and it's valid. There's some key terms in here you're going to want to know as you move forward. Okay, so let's go back to our weekly folder. And then let's go here. Okay, so what else do we have? We have understanding reliable information. This is a little Connect activity that kind of takes you through some studies, typical studies that we see in nutrition, particularly like epidemiological, longitudinal, and such. And so a lot of this information actually comes out of the end of chapter 1, and so a little of it will be reviewed. You are going to complete your information literacy, and this is through the library. It is basically teaches you how do you search for scholarly work at our electronic library. And so it shouldn't take you that long. If you've completed this in another class, you still have access to that badge. You can log in and get your own badge and resubmit it. So you don't have to do it again. The only badge I want is Research Basics badge. You can take a picture of it and attach a snippet. That's just fine. The Research Basic badge shows that you've completed all the previous badges, which is why that's the only one I need. And so the picture totally works. If for any reason, when you click on this, you do not go into the library Blackboard, you just need to email the library. For some, you might be a new student and not set up. All you need to do is email the library and they're going to get you completely fixed. Okay? So, why did I give you what is scholarly or peer-reviewed journals? A lot of times students don't understand what scholarly work is. They don't know how to differentiate between maybe a newspaper or between an opinion piece, because an opinion piece can often be found in a peer-reviewed journal. We will end up coming back to this. And so this is information mainly to support what you're learning this week. And then of course you have your team introductions. Now remember, you're not going to be put into your team until tomorrow, but if you want to work ahead, you can, because your post is due by Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. And we will never have a tight turnaround like that again. Making the teams and dropping students just gets tricky. So quick little TED Talk, and then here's all of your discussion board information. All right, you should be all set for week 2. By all means, reach out to me with questions and have a good week.